Alright, so we are going to be doing my DVD collection for the channel called Davian's VHS DVD Games and More Collection. It's gonna be freaking epic. Now let's get on to the video. By the way, this one, I have 57 DVDs. This video might be a little long. If it does get over 15, I might split it into parts. Starting here is Curious George Rides a Bike and Other Tales of Mischief. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is Dora the Explorer and Meet Diego. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is Oswald and Welcome to Big City. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is the Nickelodeon compilation DVD called Nicktoons Halloween. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is Nick Jr. Celebrate Spring. It works perfectly fine, no issues whatsoever. Next up is Blues Room and Snack Time Playdate. It works perfectly fine, no issues whatsoever. By the way, on this Nick Jr. Celebrate Spring, it doesn't work on the PlayStation 2, but it works on the DVD player. Anyways, this one I got it for Christmas. This one I got it from the garage sale. This one I got from Santa. This one I got from Walmart brand new. This one got for Dollar Tree, and this one I got it for Goodwill. Next up is SpongeBob SquarePants and Sponge for Hire. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever, and I got it from Walmart brand new. Next up is The Simpsons Complete Fourth Season. I got it at Goodwill. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is Blues Room. It's Hug Day. Got it from Walmart brand new. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is SpongeBob SquarePants and Assorting Favorites. I got it from Walmart. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is Little Bear and Halloween Stories. I got it from Dollar General. It works, but it does not play the trailers very well on DVD player, but it does well on the Blu-ray player. It also doesn't do well on the PS2. Next up is Barnyard. Got it from the garage sale. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is Curious George. Got it from Walmart. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is Dick Picks Holiday. Got it from Walmart. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up, I have two of the Curious George Zoo Night DVDs. The first one I got from Walmart, and the second I got from Goodwill. They both work, but the second one plays only one episode. Next up is Curious George Rocket Ride and Other Adventures. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever, and I got it from Walmart. Next up is ESPN Honor Roll College Basketball. I got it from Goodwill. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is the Best of Super Mario Bros. Super Show. Got it from Dollar General. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is Curious George Plays in Snow and Other Awesome Activities. I got it from Walmart. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is SpongeBob SquarePants and To Love a Patty. Got it from the garage sale and got it for Christmas. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is The Simpsons Disc 1 of Season 11. Got it from Dollar General. It works perfectly fine, but it does play limited episodes. Next up is Curious George Sails with the Pirates and Other Curious Capers. Got it from Dollar General. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is Curious George Takes a Vacation and Discovers New Things. Got it from Walmart. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is Go Diego Go, Diego's Magical Missions. Got it from a garage sale. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is Go Diego Go and the Great Dinosaur Rescue. Also got it from the garage sale. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is Yo Gabba Gabba New Friends. Got it from Dollar General. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is the Rugrats Double Feature. Got it from Walmart. It works they work perfectly fine, but they're both cracked, and Rugrats Go Wild messes up. Next up is Curious George Swings into Spring. Got it from Walmart. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is Curious George Halloween Boo Fest. Got it from Walmart. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up, I have two Blue's Clues Get Clued into School Packs. I got them both from Walmart. The other one, it came with this pack right here. I'll show you. This Blue's Clues Big Hits Volume 1. Along with that one, this double pack from Nickelodeon. They both work perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. I'm going to move on to this section because I skipped it. Next up is Curious George Goes Green. It works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Got it from Walmart. Next up is Curious George and a Very Monkey Christmas. I got it from Walmart and it works perfectly fine. Next up is Curious George Makes New Friends. Also got it from Walmart and it works perfectly fine. Next up is Curious George Goes to a Birthday Party. Got it from Walmart and it works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is Curious George and a Bike Ride Adventure. Got it from Walmart also and it works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is America, The Birth of Freedom. I got them from Dollar General and it works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is Curious George Plays Ball. Got it from Walmart and it works perfectly fine, no issues whatsoever. Next up is Curious George and Gets a New Toy. Got it from Walmart and it works perfectly fine. Next up is Yo Gabby Gavin, Let's Visit the Doctor. I got it from Dollar General and it works perfectly fine. Next up is the double pack of Blue's Clues, and these two titles got it from Walmart and it works perfectly fine. Next up is Curious George and Saves the Day and it works perfectly fine. Also got it from Walmart. Next up is Curious George Dance Party, my first Curious George DVD. I got it from Walmart and it works perfectly fine. Next up is Dora the Explorer and Dora's Butterfly Ball. I got it from Walmart and it works perfectly fine. Next up is the Blue's Clues Volume 2 Big Hits. Got it from Walmart and it works perfectly fine. Next up is the Curious George 30 Stories 6 Hours of Fun. Got it from Walmart and it works perfectly fine. Last but not least is this Curious George Double Pack. Got it from Walmart and it works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. Almost forgot to show you, this is Curious George Complete First Season. Got it from Walmart. They all work, but they mess up. Next up is Curious George 3 Back to the Jungle. It works perfectly fine, no issues whatsoever, and I got it from Walmart. Next up is the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water. I also got it from Walmart and it works perfectly fine. Next up is The Adventures of SpongeBob SquarePants. Got it from Walmart and it works perfectly fine. Next up is Curious George Outdoors Adventures, Fun with Friends, and Garden Discoveries. I got those three at Walmart and they all work perfectly fine. Next up is Good Burger. Got it from Walmart and it works perfectly fine. And lastly is the Rugrats Trilogy Movie Collection. Also got it from Walmart and it also works perfectly fine. Those three discs. Sorry for the inconvenience in this video. I just skipped a couple sections. I had to go back to them, as you can see right here. Now that's going to do with me with my DVD collection. This is Davian's collection of VHS, DVDs, games, and more. Thank you for watching. I hope you like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you again in my next video.